All right, everybody. I do apologize for the delay. We did find them. It's just some technical difficulties there, but we did get them. And without further delay, I am going to introduce him to you all. Here he is, Mr. Joe Lewis Walker.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm doing fantastic, sir. Sorry for that delay there, man.
Oh, me too. I apologize.
So, yeah, you said you were recording at the studio. What are you guys doing?
I was doing a track for a friend who is doing a benefit record for about a whole bunch of musicians who need some help. So about 60 of us did this track with the choir and all this stuff, and hopefully it can help some people out.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Also with you, you're a blues musician, and this is going to be a very interesting talk for me because I tried to get into the blues very, very well, and in fact, I listened to a lot of your songs, a lot of your albums. In fact, your new album as well. The Blues Are Coming. But before I do, the blues coming on is what I meant to say. But before we do get into that album, I just got to know what got you into the blues in the first place.
Well, I tell everybody, and this is true. When you get 5 musicians in a room, so get 5 iconic musicians. Let's just pick 5 out of the hat. Say get Chuck Berry,
okay,
John Lennon,
John Lennon,
Dave Grohl,
oh yeah,
Duke Ellington,
okay,
and Joan Baez or Pavarotti. When you get them all in a room together, and you go up to Pavarotti, and you say, "Oh man, I love your classical singing," or you go up to Chuck Berry and you say, "Man, or Muddy Waters say, I love your blues guitar." Or you go up to a keeper, "I love your rock guitar player." They're just going to turn to you and say, "Man, I'm just a guitar player. I play everything. I just, So, just to answer your question, I look at myself as a guitar player who happens to play the blues, not a blues player who plays guitar, because I've made as many records that aren't categorized as blues, and if you listen to my music, you'll see that it's got a lot of different elements, and by you being new to blues, you might not, but I'm sure you've heard the old style blues, God been running, da. Well, I'm not from that generation. I'm from a little bit later. So my blues sort of infuses all the stuff I come out of in the Bay Area when I'm there, psychedelic music, jazz, funk, power in the Bay Area, Sly Stone in the Bay Area, psychedelic with Bobby Weir and the Dead and all those cats, a little bit of jazz, But to answer your question, what got me into blues was my mother and father, because my father left Cleveland, Mississippi, and he brought his music with him and his 9 brothers and sisters when we moved to the Bay Area, San Francisco. My mother brought her music with her, and both of them brought their mothers with them. So all my grandmothers, all my family that moved out of the South, Arkansas, where my mother's from, and Cleveland, Mississippi, where my father's family is from. And but one thing they didn't leave behind was their music, and so I have a lot of 5 brothers and sisters, a lot of family. And so my father would play the records for me when he got off work in little 45s. And if I was if I was a good boy, he'd play the records. If I was bad, he wouldn't play the records. And he noticed that I throw a conniption if he wouldn't play the record. So he's seen that the music was reached me, and he's seen that the kind of music he liked, which is sort of rare. A lot of young people, they don't like the music of their parents, but that gave me the incentive to really try to get into music. And then when I was sort of serious, younger, 8, 9, My mother would at the time you could go to a library at school, and if they had instruments, you could rent. You could check out an instrument just like you could a library book, but your parents had to sign for it, and they had to put their name on it so that you didn't, tear anything up and like that. But I never could get the guitar because it was always taken. It was always, So I studied a little bit on the violin and then on the accordion, the piano a little bit.
Accordion, nice.
Yeah. I didn't get. I can make a little noise, but I just really wasn't. It didn't capture my imagination like the guitar. The guitar just captured everybody's imagination, when I was younger,
Yeah, it's interesting because, the way the guitar captured my imagination was just, hearing, Mick Mars and, Jimi Hendrix and all them, which I believe is an influence of yours. Am I correct?
Well, I knew him, I was sort of doing my own thing when he was doing his thing, but I knew him real good. Because the guy that was the drummer, Buddy Miles, was before he was in the band of Gypsies, he was in a group called the Electric Flag. And a guitar player that started that group called the Electric Flag, I lived with him, a guy named Michael Bloomfield. And Michael had left a group called the Paul Butterfield Blues Band and started the Electric Flag. Everybody's heard Michael Bloomfield. There is nobody on this planet who hasn't. I'm going to tell you why. Just listen to this.
Go right
Once
ahead.
upon a time, you dressed so fine. You threw the drums a dime. Have you heard that song?
I have. Yes.
The guitar players Michael Bloomfield. So everybody
that's funny.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, it's funny how you hear a song, you just don't know that musician until you realize, oh, it's that guy.
Huh. Yeah. Well, it was Bob Dylan's song, but he had sent for Michael to play guitar on it, and a lot of people, there's certain watermark moments in the history of music. A big one being when Bob Dylan went electric. Bob Dylan went at the Newport Folk Festival. I believe it was '65 or something like that, and everybody's, Bob Dylan, everybody said, oh, Bob Dylan went electric and he had the band with him. It was not the band that backed him up. It was the Paul Butterfield Blues Band with Mike Bloomfield on guitar. And everybody in the Butterfield band, except for Butterfield, because Bob Dylan plays harmonica, so he really didn't need Paul. So if you ever Google, Bob Dylan going electric, the '65 Newport Jazz Folk Festival, I'm sorry, you will see him playing with a blues band, and that's the Paul Butterfield Blues Band backing him up with Mike Bloomfield on guitar.
I'm gonna have to look into that because Bob Dylan's an amazing musician.
Yeah, he's I just think the last man standing,
Exactly, and of course I told you I've been listening to your new album, The Blues Coming On. My favorite song happens to be The Thing. I hope I say that. Yeah, I'm just like, wow, that song's kind of catchy. I like it. What's the song about, if you could tell me?
It's a dance. I made up a dance called The Thing. Oh. And I explained it in the song.
Oh,
it didn't get promoted because, we had the COVID. So a lot of records, mine, a whole bunch of good records sort of flew under the radar. We couldn't tour behind it. We couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't go overseas. I couldn't do anything. So but it did okay. The record did okay.
Huh.
What do you like about that? What do you like about that song?
I just like the beat. I mean, when I heard, The Thing, I get up and I'll just start dancing. Like, yeah. It
has that sort of groove to it. What I like about it is Jesse Johnson playing the guitar.
Oh.
So Jesse Johnson from the Times. And Prince. Yeah, that's Jesse Johnson just going crazy on the guitar, and I sort of answer him, but I sort of get out of the way and let him do his thing because he's killing it.
Well, another good song I really like is "Feed the Poor." I was like, I like this song too. Another catchy song. I'm kind of assuming that this song's sort of about feeding, the homeless and everything. But what's your take on like what is in your perspective that song really about?
Well, I mean, it is about that, but it's sort of about um, the young man who wrote the lyrics for me, my friend Gabriel Jagger. Gabriel's he was 19 when he wrote those lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And Gabriel, for him to dig deep and go there, he kept his eyes open, when he would be traveling different places and seeing different things and going off the beaten track and looking, and looking to see how people were existing, because I mean, to be honest, that's what got me. And when just the first lyrics, I see people lying in the gutter, no father, no mother.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone walks past because they're hypnotized by money's trance.
Mm-hmm.
When he gave me that poem, I was like, damn, Gabe, I mean, what do you know about this kind of stuff? I mean, you've been rich since you've been Mick's son. There ain't no way in the world. What do you know about this shit? But I mean, people. I think that sometimes people have a yearning for life, to see another part of life that they don't normally see. You see it now with the prince that's married to Meghan Markle. He could have
Mm-hmm.
easily just said, hey, I'll be part of the blah, 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 and all that crap. But he said, no, I don't want to do this, man. You know what? It's a lot of pain connected, with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be connected with that pain, I mean, and so I respect that. I mean, especially when you're younger and you can put it into action, you put it into words, because when you put it into words, that's one step from putting it in action. And
Mm-hmm.
I was very, very, very honored that Gabe wrote the lyrics and gave them to me. And then you had Yorma Cochran playing the guitar. You had Yorma from Hot Tuna and Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah, I actually wanted to
Playing.
I wanted to talk to you about that. That was one musician that stood out to me when I looked into the guest artists that you had. Uh,
Hmm.
like, how long have you known him, and how did you get him to be part of the album?
Well, I first ran across Yorman in the mid '60s.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing folk folk music and country blues at a place called the Coffee Gallery in San Francisco. That a lot of people used to come, and when they just get to town, me being from San Francisco, I was already in it. But a lot of the younger people who were dropping out and looking for a new lifestyle. They didn't want to do the same things that older people had. They wanted to grow their hair long. They wanted to, not have to be married to have sex. Just everything, women's rights, uh, all kinds of stuff. Well, all those guys and Yorma moved to the hood. Yorma moved to the hood, and so
Uh,
which was sort of different because people got to sort of hey man, what you doing here? That's before nowadays, before gentrification.
mm-hmm.
There was no reason for anybody who would come from a good family to want to move to the hood because we lived in projects and stuff like that. But that's where the Fillmore was, the Fillmore district and the Haight Ashbury. A lot of people think they got the Haight Ashbury. The Fillmore district and the Haight Ashbury were one big district. There was no demarcation. The only demarcation came when the hippies came and they needed a name for it. So they called it Haight Ashbury. It was always the hate to us. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I went to high school there. I went to junior high school a half a block from the Film Auditorium. We used to have
Oh
our
wow.
Battle of the Bands there. The Film Auditorium, the whole Fillmore district was like Harlem in the 30s. It was like Soweto, South Africa. There was hardly anybody there but Japanese Americans who had been, a lot of them had been, their parents had been interned in because of the World War II. And then a lot of African Americans and Jewish Americans lived in my area.
Hmm. Well, and that's it's kind of interesting how you know been together with him for a while, and growing up in that in the hood, and how you guys managed to know each other was it's kind of impressive. And then of course around the time around like 1975, I believe, you decided to switch your style a little bit, I should say, and you went a little bit more gospel. And you had a group called the Spiritual Corinthians. What made you switch to that style, and how did you come up with the name Spiritual Corinthians? Or
Well, I mean, I had I started off singing in church and playing in church when I was a kid. So when me and my cousins, I had 4 cousins, and we started a band, and one of my cousins went professional, and I took his place in our family band. We started playing at sock ops, and we were playing for drum corps and drum lines for the young people, and we were in the drum corps ourselves, and we got pretty good. So we started playing all over, and then when the hippies came, everybody sort of mixed together. Everything mixed together. So when we used to play the Film Auditorium, or I'd go see a group like the Temptations, the Real Temptations,
good Temptation
with David Ruffin and everybody, or we go see James Brown before he got in the bag, or we go see Little Richard when he got Religion in '63. And so and so we see all that at the Film Auditorium, because that was like the Apollo Theater. That was strictly our auditorium. Nobody was interested in it. Nothing, And then, when everybody started mixing, then Bill Graham and the Mime Troupe and everybody took over the Film Auditorium, and Bill did something really what I thought was cool. He really accentuated the young people playing there. That's cool, because what people don't realize is that when a lot of the people start going to the Film Auditorium, like in '65, '64, a lot of the hippies started coming. There was no name for hippies. People would sit on the floor. They wouldn't dance. People would sit on the floor. And what got them dancing, believe it or not, was the Grateful Dead. Because the Grateful Dead would play party music, and they still do. I mean, Bobby, they'll pick the song out like Midnight Hour or Turn On Your Love Light, an old, a soul song, or Dancing in the Streets. And they play it for 20 minutes. And people would be, Martha and Vandellas. They play, a song for 20 minutes. People partying, dancing, blah, 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 blah. And so then people started dancing at some of the hippie things, and Bill Graham mixed all of us together. You would have maybe the Airplane with Jefferson, with Norma and Jack Cassidy, who are now Hot Tuna, or he would have Miss Quicksilver Messenger Service, or the Grateful Dead, or whomever, one of the psychedelic groups. And then next on the bill, he'd have a blues act: Muddy Waters, Albert King, James Cotton, or some of the young white blues acts from England. I've seen all those guys. The Yardbirds, they might as well have moved there. Jeff Beck. I saw the Yardbirds one time. They had Jeff Beck on the left-hand side of the stage. They had Jimmy Page on the right-hand side of the stage. Nobody knew who he was.
That's funny.
Nobody had the slightest idea. I'm serious. Only main thing people were looking at him because they had this psychedelic painted Telecaster guitar. Like, this guy can play. I mean, he could really, really play. I mean, he
didn't even.
He put it. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say they didn't even realize he was going to be the guy from Led Zeppelin. That's so funny.
No. I just, it was like, wow, But we used to see all the English guys. Them with Van Morrison. And they had a big hit with Betty Please Don't Go, or Old Blues Song. Then Van wrote Gloria, GLORI, and all that stuff. And we'd see all the English guys doing their, it's really bizarre. All the English guys would come over doing their take on blues and American R&B, because all those guys they call them maximum R&B. There wasn't one English group I ever seen that didn't really get their start playing American music. All of them. I don't know one. Maybe later on, but in the beginning, every English group, from Yardbirds, Led Zeppelin, a lot of blues. Oh man.
Oh yeah.
All blues.
Yeah. A lot of English musicians have a lot of blues influence than what people realize.
seen a lot of Cream all the time.
Oh, Cream's another one.
Yeah, the Beatles did their last show in our hometown, but the Beatles did a lot. They did a lot of. They did going to Kansas City, Kansas City. They changed it around. They did. Oh, Jesus Christ! All the Chuck Berry stuff. All the English guys did all the Chuck Berry stuff. You know.
I also know you're good friends with the Rolling Stone guys. That's what I believe.
Yeah. Well, some of them are pretty. We cool. We're cool. I've known Ronnie since 1988 more than anybody else. But I guess I see I see Mick more because I go play on the island there. Once a year we play on the island for 2 weeks to benefit to help the less fortunate islands, so that they can get diabetic supplies and things of this nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, around the same time, I believe you went back to your roots a bit. You formed your own group, the Boss Talkers, which is a nice name, by the way.
Thank you.
What inspired you to form the group, and then you go on and you also came out with your debut album?
Well, I left the gospel for the same reason I joined the gospel group. I'm just the restless soul. Musically, I like playing all kinds of music with all kinds of people. So I just got bored after 10 years. I won't even say bored. I just wanted to push myself in another direction. And so that, and when I came back to the so-called blues scene, it was really cool because they had a lot of younger guys who were making names for themselves, and they were doing different stuff. They weren't playing all traditional blues, and it was cool because everybody was represented. They had guys like Stevie Ray, who was representing young guys, Southern guys coming out. Like I call Stevie like a direct descendant to Johnny Winters. Johnny Winters was before Stevie. And then you had Robert Cray coming out with more of a soulful blues thing. You had the Fabulous Thunderbirds coming out with a sort of hard rocking roadhouse music, and you had Los Lobos, who did a lot of roots music, doing their take on the blues. So I loved it. You had a lot of women. Bonnie started coming on really strong. Bonnie Raitt. So I really liked that period in the 80s, late 80s, coming back because it really opened up a lot of doors, and there was a really a good camaraderie, and everybody had a lane. There was room for everybody. Everybody had a lane. And to be quite honest, there was no Spotify or Napster to make a musician's life so there wasn't something like that to really. I can't sugarcoat it. They just robbed us. They just robbed us. There ain't no way to go around it. There's no way around it.
Technology has advanced. Technology advanced so much to the point where we can actually, release our music a lot easier compared to what it was back then.
It's all fine and good, but
yeah,
if somebody spends if somebody spends an enormous amount of money making a record like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, and just the orchestra alone on a day in the life of the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. I don't know if you ever heard that album, but
yeah.
I'm sure. Okay, then great. That if Napster gave that album away, here's the hard part about it: nobody would have heard it. Nobody would have heard it. They would have heard one track, and they would have moved on to Cardi B. I swear to God. Yeah, and no, I'm serious.
I do agree with that. I agree with that.
What you would have had is, when you think of what came on after Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts, I'm glad. The Beatles were allowed to keep growing. When you think of the White Album and all that great stuff on there, and then you think of Abbey Road, all the great stuff on there. Then you think of Let It Be, all the great stuff on there. It would have never got done. It would have never got done. And so it's, I agree with you about technology. I prefer what Malcolm X used to call it, tricknology, Because right now, we are into as a people, we are into no man's land with technology, to where technology can stop all the meat. They can stop all the gas. We all seen it happen in the last week. You know, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
what happened? Who got hacked yesterday? McDonald's, right? So can you imagine what the hackers want from McDonald's? You know,
a lot of burgers.
Well, they can have them all because I'm a vegetarian. I'm vegan. They can have every one of them. But still in all, what about all the people that work there? What about, you know what I mean? We're in a really a twilight zone with technology, and I hope to God it doesn't really, really, really turn into a horror movie, because it's an accident that's happened already. It's just happened on a smaller scale. Once if anything happens to where, say, somebody gets pissed and shuts down NORAD, and we don't have anything to take care of it, you know, we are really in a tricky situation, you know.
Right.
Yeah, so we better come up with some ideas.
Pretty fast. I work at Wendy's, so I understand the experience and how all that stuff works. So it's just like, oh, geez, get me out of here.
Yeah.
But in some ways, technology can be good and useful as long as you use it in the right way.
Yeah. I agree, but you know, we by us being humans, you know, it's just like the Sunhouse, the old blues man said it. You got a devil on the shoulder, and you got an angel on this side of the shoulder. And sometimes, you know, I'll admit I'm guilty of it. The devil's always got a little bit more sweet in the pot, you know. The devil's sweet in the pot, you know. I'm like, if somebody comes and says, "Hey Joe, you're a vegetarian. I'm gonna hack McDonald's, man. Would you like some of the proceeds to save some of the animals in the world?" Well, I don't know.
That's a tough decision there to make. Oh man. Oh my. I don't know why we're talking about McDonald's over here. I thought, we're supposed to be talking about the music. I actually did wanted to talk about your debut album a little bit, Cold as the Night. I wanted to mention that my favorite song, I can't believe we talked about McDonald's, Fuss and Fight. What's this song about to you? This is like one of my favorite songs so far.
Well, the truth is, I had been playing gospel music, you know, and I'll be quite honest. I was going out with a young lady, and when I pick her up, she put, when they had, you know, the cassette, she put a gospel cassette in the you know, playing the music, and we're listening. It's fine, you know. Every time, gospel cassette, gospel. So one time, I just put a cassette of blues in there. I don't know what it was. And she bent my ear for about a half hour and told me how disgusted she was by the blues, and how this and how that. And we got to a little tete-a-tete fuss and fight. But the moral of the story was, you know, I said, well, you know, I've really enjoyed going out with you, you know, but see, wouldn't want to be, you know.
Walk away.
Come on. And what's interesting is now, because the gospel that we were playing, we had like 2 guitar players. I mean, we were rocking the church. We rocked the programs. You know, ain't no way around it. And the reverend would come to us and says, "Joe, you guys, you're getting the sisters upset up there in the third row. You know, you choking the strings, you're bending the strings like Albert, you know, and the sisters are sweating and carrying on, and you know, y'all need to come down." So
it's like, calm down.
Yeah, but I mean, and that was like 485. And you look at what gospel is now. Kirk Franklin, you got gospel rap, you got all kind of stuff. You know, and I'm like, geez, I was before my time.
Yeah, gospel music has really come a long way in many ways. In fact, I forget who the artist was that came to Kings Island. It's a music park. And there was a lot of gospel musicians coming there, along with a few other bands that I like, such as Skillet and Striper, but I won't get into that. But it was interesting it was interesting because it was like, wow, people are really together. People are loving each other.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy can rap, and he's rapping about God. This is awesome.
He's rapping on, yeah, that's a trip, ain't it?
Yeah. I don't know who it was. I can't think of who it was, but it was great. It was a good show. And of course, the album, I heard it. I kind of heard that it took you guys a bit to like produce it. Like I heard like you guys put the tracks in order, but you said it took a little bit. How long did it take you guys to produce this album?
I think we made Cold as the Night in about 4 days. The big part, the sort of hard part about Cold as the Night, by that really being my proper first album under my own name. I'd done sessions and demos for labels and stuff, but nothing came of it. We did the record. I'll never forget. And then we finished on a Friday, and I had to be in Japan on a Sunday.
Oh, Japan.
Yeah, so we left. So I couldn't be there to listen to the mix, because that's the important part about the record is when you mix it,
Yeah.
And so when I got back, I'm listening to the record, and I'm saying, man, the guitar sounds a little thin, just on several things. It's a little thin. And I went to one of the producers, and I said, can you go back in the studio and maybe, beef the guitar sound up a little bit? And he just sort of let me have it. Well, we're through with that. We're through with that album. We've moved on to doing Robert Cray's record. Now, just be glad you got a record. Blah, 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 blah. I said, oh, I didn't say anything. And I just noted in the back of my head, the next record I do, if I have any hang-ups with this cat, I'm going to tell the head of the company and blah, blah, blah. So to make a long story short, it took them a little while to mix the record. What they did was that they put a synthesized bass line on the song "Cold as the Night," and I went ballistic. I just, come on, man, what do I have? What do I look like? I mean, I'm not Brian Ferry. I mean, it's weird. I like Brian Ferry. He's a friend of mine. He done me solid. He took me on tour with him when he didn't even have to. Like most British guys, he's a big R&B fan, blues fan, so he took me on tour with him. Never met him in my life. Nice guy. But I mean, it's almost like you make a painting, and then I gotta go. I can't finish the painting, and somebody else comes and finish the painting, and you said, well, I really didn't want that particular color, and I don't like that, and well, you just gotta lump it. You gotta take it. And I just sort of. To me, music is one of those open-ended things, I listen to all kinds of music, and and I think that there's only two kinds: good music and bad music. And then if you get into bad music, if there's 300 people over there that's liking that band that you don't like, and you're the only person over there, maybe you don't know.
It's true.
I mean? So if you go on to see a concert by Hole or somebody, Courtney Love, and she's drunk all over the stage and falling out, and 5,000 people are going crazy, and you're the only one going, well, she's drunk, well, maybe she's having a good goddamn time, and maybe the audience is having a great time, and maybe you just ain't getting it, So I try to be a little careful instead of being judgmental musically. Because music, it really touches people, everybody differently.
Yep, people's taste in music, it's different, it's diverse. I remember when I was growing up in high school, I was kind of a stereotype. It was 80s, nothing but 80s. But as I grew up and matured, I was like, okay, I need to get into other stuff. So I went back in time a little bit to the 70s, to the 90s, to the 60s. It was good for me to explore. And you should always explore. You shouldn't stick to one genre. It's going to get boring.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm still an 80s guy, but I had to, explore. And
80s was a good decade for me.
I would say it's a good decade for me, even though I wasn't there. I was born in 97. Sorry. And of course, you mentioning your second album, The Gift. which I think was a better produced album.
Yeah.
Like, how did you manage to get that album, better produced compared to the first album? Which I think the first album's really good, by the way.
Because I co-produced it, and
exactly.
that particular producer was gone right in the middle of that session. Cold the night. I'll never forget, and I mean I'm still friends with everybody, with the cat, but I'll never forget we were doing some song. It might even been The Gift, and there was two issues that we had. Was that the record company was like, Joe, you realize that you want to make the title track a slow song, and it's not really a barn burner on guitar. It's like, I don't know, man. I mean, have you lost your mind? No. I said, listen to the song. There's a story. It's a true story. And so Bruce Bromberg, one of the other producers, Bruce got it, and he said, hey Joe, I feel what's coming out of your mouth. I feel what you're saying. He said, and that's a good thing. But the other producer, he was reading his stock reports because they'd have been having a lot of success with my co-label mate, Robert Cray. So he was looking at new homes and places to put his money. Meanwhile, I'm still riding around in a van, trying to get my second album heard by people and get it released in England, because that's where I got a little bit of notoriety from. And so one thing led to another, and I just called the head of the label and says, look, man, why don't we do this? Why don't you just, since he's doing his stock reports anyway, why don't you just let me produce the record? Okay, you got your big man here. He ain't gonna let me, bring in 16 Vestal versions and all that shit. I mean, I don't have a budget for that anyway. You guys ain't giving me that much. You know what I mean? So
right.
They was like, okay, let me put the other producer on the phone, and the other producer, okay, yeah, well, I'm gone. See you later, man. Good luck. Bye. Bye. Good luck. Bye. Which is sort of funny because about a year and a half later, he called me, that producer. He said, hey, Joe, would you come in and put that big voice of yours on some tracks for me? Yeah, sure, man. Sure. No problem. But it worked out. It worked out.
That's good. I'm glad it worked out. And a few other questions I had to ask. First off, what is your favorite song to play, and what was your favorite place that you've ever performed at?
Well, that's easy. The second one is the Film Auditorium, because that was our community playhouse. I mean, I'm fortunate because I've seen it in so many gestations. I've seen it in so many different, things. So that's home to me. It's got my DNA on that fucking stage. But what was the other question?
The other question was, what's your favorite song that you enjoy playing live?
Well, right now, it's everything's morphed. It's so much stuff now. But right now, I guess one of the most enjoyable songs I like doing, I like singing with the guys in the group. So we do a gospel song that I wrote called Soldier for Jesus. And we do a 4-part harmony all the way through the song. It's a song where you all sing together. And that's it's not like singing together with people because it just brings you close. It really does. So that's my favorite.
Mm-hmm. And of course, speaking of coming to other places, I'm from Ohio, so I'm going to ask: will you be coming to Ohio anytime soon?
Yeah, we're going to come to Ohio in the next few months. Because there's there's a festival that I was supposed to play that we put it off. So I know where I think it's going. I don't know if it's going to be in Columbus or somewhere like that. I don't know exactly, but I have a website, joelewiswalker.com, and if people go on there, they can see the dates. I believe that date is up there. If it isn't finalized, it should be, and it will be up there. But I'm looking forward to going to Ohio. I spent a lot of time going through there.
I would love to. I would love to see you live, man. Love to meet you too.
Yeah.
In person.
Well, same here. Same here. I like a Seebass.
Yeah, Seebass. That's my radio name. And then of course, but I think you kind of mentioned this. Where can we all buy this new album of yours?
Well, you can buy it from Cleopatra Records, my record company. Or you can get it on any of the platforms that they have. You know, I ain't gonna promote them. I'm sorry. Spotify. Yeah, you can get it on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, all that good stuff. You know.
Well, speaking of it, I actually already bought the new album on Amazon. I thought it was going to come today, but it's coming tomorrow. It's kind of disappointed.
Oh, well, thank you. We're gonna have got a new record coming out probably in August, September. It's called Eclectic. It's totally eclectic record. You know,
oh, wow.
I did some weird stuff on there, like Werewolves of London. I did on there. We did have some fun with the record. Yeah,
I wanted to look up that one. It's always good to. It's always good to explore other genres, and to me, this was very, very interesting for me to learn because I've always wanted to get into the blues. I just never gotten that time. Stevie Ray Vaughan and was like the only person that I knew from the blues era.
Oh yeah, well, a lot of people, know Stevie because Stevie, Stevie was he was the shot in the arm that the blues needed, at the particular time, and he'll always be go down in history as one of the guys that really did bring blues back. I mean, if it wasn't for Stevie, it just wouldn't have been as many young people. There was a lot of young people, like 30, let's see, the 80s, 30, let's see, 85, I was 35 years old. I think Stevie's about 10 years younger than me. So he had to be about 25 when I first met Stevie Ray Vaughan. And talking about my first record, when I first got the record, I went down to Santa Cruz because my friend, a manager who was managing me, said, "Hey, you got to come down here and meet Stevie Ray Vaughan." And so his bass player. Well, I knew his best player, Johnny Winters. His bass player used to play with Johnny Winters. And so I went down there and I heard the whole show. Stevie sounded pretty good. He was, he was. This was before the dab, so he sounded different once he got clean and sober. But I said, well, I got my new album here. We sat backstage and we're talking after the show, and I said, I got my new CD, and I thought he just wanted to hear a track. He sat there and listened to the whole album, and when I listened to the album, and the first thing he said, just clockwork, the first thing came out of his mouth was, "Hey Joe, why ain't the guitars turned up?" And I said,
"Turn up."
"Well, if you want to know, this is what happened." He says, "Yeah." He says, "I was going through the same thing too." He says, "But John Hammond didn't bother me." He says, "I just took all my amps and just put them in the studio." He said, "And you know what?" He says, "I just left my amps there, and hey, and he got his sound, but I was so glad to be on a label. I really didn't push it the first record, I really didn't push it. If I did, I probably wouldn't be here because they probably would have just dropped me."
Anything can happen, but I mean, again, your first record, I think, is really good, and I think I bought that album too. I went on a buying spree when I saw you. I was like, okay, I gotta buy some albums. I gotta listen to some this guy. Okay, I get it. All right, we're good. And I also got this blues book that has your name in it. So.
Oh yeah, we got a few. Well, that's great, man.
Did a lot of research for you.
Well, thank you, and
definitely.
I appreciate this.
Yeah, definitely, man. And something I am going to do with this particular episode of mine, I go to college at ICB. I'm going to put this podcast on to that radio station with 2 of your new songs from the new album.
So cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's going to be really cool. I can't wait to hear it on the radio station of ours. I think it's going to be great.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate it. Yeah.
And we are actually running out of time here. I do have to get going. I got to do some other things. But it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. It's been good to learn from you.
Well, thank you.
Anything you want to say to the audience before you go?
No, just I wish everybody well, and um, you know, I think pretty soon, hopefully, we'll all be able to go swimming and go to and go do things,
Yeah. Things
and
we want to do.
yeah, things we want to do. Yeah, outside of that, I just wish everybody well, and I wish you well, and I appreciate the opportunity that you're giving me to do on your podcast.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, I wish you luck, and I say take care and keep on rocking, man.
Yes,
See
sir.
ya.